The way I've put my presentation together is I've decided to look at sort of what I've done in the past and the present, and a bit about future collaboration ideas. So I'm looking at upcycled artworks using agricultural textiles and other waste, but I have covered a couple of other projects in there as well. So an introduction to myself: I'm a senior lecturer in fashion buying at De Montfort University. I'm also a practice-based artist, and I'm involved in research. I'm fairly new to research, but my work is about upcycling, colour. I've run a fashion and textiles art club, and I'm also involved in a project called Textinction, which is raising awareness of sustainability through teaching and also through my own artworks, as well as student collaborations and staff. So I'll start off just with a little bit about my experimentation. And so I love experimenting, and I sort of describe myself as an everythingist because I love painting, drawing, printing, making, craft, and I've got a particular interest in agricultural string, which has been part of my life. I live in the countryside in the heart of England, and here are some images of polypropylene that got me thinking. I kept noticing bits of discarded string and agricultural waste in the countryside, and noticed over the years that it doesn't degrade and that it's really bad for our planet. And the things that I've been working with are things like bird seed bags, baling tapes, and particularly string. And people give me their waste, so that's been really useful, and it's an area that I really enjoy these sort of making these pieces that come from the outdoor. So just to review some of the past work, upcycling work that I've done. In lockdown, obviously everybody was getting very creative and finding their creative voices. So my Trovids installation, I started to work on, and I suppose prior to that I'd really worked on the 2D basis, but I started thinking more scale and thinking about how I could use the things around me. There are 44,000 tonnes of plastic placed on the UK market every year, and agricultural plastics contribute to at least 60% of agricultural production. However, only 35% of these plastics are collected for recycling, and it's amazing how much waste there is in the agricultural sector. So my work started off with upcycling, but not just using agricultural. I was using old soles because obviously in lockdown we were limited with materials, and I was trying to sort of create this sort of harshness of the vibrance of colour against the sort of the natural colours of the countryside, and sort of creating these images. And this is an image that I sent in to the Textile Society, which was published in 2020, just giving you a sort of a flavour of the types of things. Here's another one. So it's very much about this sort of juxtaposition of the brights against the countryside, and that was presented at Woven in Practice in Huddersfield. Using agricultural waste as well. So again, it's just sort of, I was looking at all different types of waste and thinking about how it's sort of contamination of soils. I also created my own breed of caterpillars made of string, and started to really think very, very sort of diversely about how I could approach this. And one of the things that was happening, obviously we're going back to early work here, is I was thinking about these birdseed bags. So I created this kimono because there was a kimono exhibition on the V&A, which I was unable to see. So I had very much kimonos on my mind. And there's strips that were representing the data that were going on at the time. And I also found that this idea of being outside was really inspiring my practice. Also, this idea at the time, the maize was growing in the fields, and the maize grows at a great rate. And as the maize grows, it gets harvested and reused, and then the whole process goes again, whereas the kimono still lived on, and so did the virus at the time. I started thinking about the waste, and I noticed, I mean, this is quite obvious now when we look at it, but at the time it was new. So this feeling of these masks being spread everywhere, and you still see them now. So this sort of waste, so this was made of giant of birdseed bags. So sort of this was about littering and sort of trying to give a social content. So it was a very snowy winter and also quite bright and blue as well at there. And you can see that these were some of the pieces that I created from these containers which had agricultural fluid in and the sole. So this was some of the early work. And so the current work that I'm working on in relation to sustainable design. So I'm working at the university on upcycling, and I'm part of a group called Textinction, which raises awareness of sustainability, and we work staff and students co-created, and this was set up, I'll just go on to the next slide, by myself and Carolyn Hardacre. So you can see we started this with a competition, and the competition was to look at what item or processes in the fashion and textile industry are not sustainable and what would be extinct or taboo in the year 2090. We presented this at the IFD conference, reimagined at Nottingham Trent in 2022, and it was, you know, this idea, this looking at a long time approach was really important. And we were also, if you look on the right, the image with the big ball, it was about nylon tights. This was a concept by Dr. Emily Baines, and I created this piece, which was about our global sort of vision of sustainability. This project started in fashion buying, and we worked on it with students. Students worked on their processes and ideas, and they came up with imagery, and we used this to create a greater awareness. And then another thing that has happened this autumn was the British Science Festival. So I was one of the participants for the video, and my video was at LCB Depot, and it was a short film about agricultural textiles. I've just put the link down there, but it is on the website. And Textinction for 2023, which we're working on at the moment, is about endangered and extinct craft, which goes back to conversations that we were having earlier about the importance of craft and how everybody's reconnected with craft. And the image here is made of agricultural string, building setting out string, and bits of florist string that have been discarded, and other, you know, sort of upcycled pieces of weaving. And I create, because some of the artworks that I create are quite big, and I'm not a weaver, but I've had to make certain tools to sort of expand the work that I'm doing. So the tool on the left is made from you know, a disused crate, and it's very, very simple. But what I liked about it, it's just got little grooves in the top, is that I can make narrow pieces or I could make wide pieces. So this I made to fit what I was creating at the time and the length to create a piece which I shall show you in a moment. And you can see that what I'm using is the polypropylene string. The prime thing that I am using at the moment is polypropylene string, and this was part of Passimentary. But my area that I was looking at as part of this project is Passimentary, and it isn't just about the making, you know, making the final product. It's very much about the learning and the skills that we learn. I'm also creating at the moment, this is unfinished, but this is part of as part of my response to what's happening in the world, is the problem with sky lanterns. And the sky lanterns, particularly last year when we had a drought in the UK, that things like that can cause fires. They get stuck into the hay that's taken by the farmers, and they can be ingested and injure animals. And there has been a call to ban this, and I wanted to make this great sky lantern. So this is a work in progress, but I wanted to show it because it is all upcycled. So it's a large bird seed. It's bird seed materials and also polypropylene. So it's like this big sort of hairy beast that will hang outside. So that just, it's really raising that sort of awareness of how to use things correctly in the countryside, and how important it is to sustainability and safety. I'm also making, as part of Textenction, some passementery, and passementery is the art of tassel making, braid making and embellishment. And I decided to sort of reinvent the tassels. So this is a very small 3D generated tassel, which I designed from scratch, from doing the working drawings to having it made on the 3D computer. And the materials inside are PLA, so they're actually cornstarch. So it very much links to my agricultural work. So, and the outside is building setting out string and baling twine and jute. So it's just sort of giving that sort of, almost this, again, like the paintings and the upcycling earlier, this sort of contradiction of the brights versus the sustainability. And this is the current piece that this shows in work. I have just finished this. It's being photographed at the moment. And this is in my studio. It's probably 8 to 10 foot when it's hanging, and it's all made from, the outer is agricultural string and polypropylene, and the inner is made of offcuts of foam from the building industry. So it's sort of using everything for nothing. So again, it's this sort of, what can we create? And you can see in the background of the studio some paintings as well, so responding with some painting. So possibilities for collaboration and other things that I'm doing, as well as the artwork. So I'm planning to set up a UK competition for upcycling with mini videos to share the upcycling skills and tips. And I'm working with Elizabeth from Birmingham to look at this, but the prize could include the opportunity to have a winning video shown at the festival Upcycling, perhaps, but also it's a way of sharing skills, and the idea is that these videos would be only 2 minutes maximum long. I've done a couple already. I'm just waiting for the legal information to put on for the competition, but it's a really lovely way to show that you could upcycle, and it could be anything, you know, from a printing technique, a weaving technique, or anything, you know, in any arts and crafts. So also I'm looking for possible international judges. So when the competition is up and running, if there were any volunteers who would like to help judge the finalists, which would be wonderful. And I also wondered, I thought perhaps this might be something that would be a possibility for other countries to do. And obviously, I think it's easier for us in UK to do the UK one, but it could be a possibility for other countries to create that, and then they could all be perhaps go to a final. Just some ideas. And also I'm planning on online workshops to share textiles upcycling skills, and so I'm interested in any international collaborators who would be willing to run a short textile skills workshop or a demonstration or a talk to reach our UK student audience, and any other creative possibilities. So I think my talk's quite short, but that's just giving, you know, a general overview of what I'm considering doing and what I've done in the past. So thank you very much for listening.